preoccupied with past thoughts. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I seem to be thinking about, fill in the blank. What are you thinking about? I seem to be thinking about, maybe a person, place, thing, object, emotion. I seem to be thinking about, let's do a few. I seem to be thinking about, 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 but my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Okay, well, we did one of our little, today we're supposed to do about 5 times today for about a minute, just like what we just did right then for a minute. Just tell yourself, my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts, and then give yourself a minute to search your mind and look at what kind of thoughts you're thinking. You know, different people you're thinking of, emotions, things that maybe you're worried about happening, things that you're excited about happening. It doesn't matter. Whatever you're thinking about is suitable. If you feel irritated because you have to do 5 of them, he says, well, you might consider letting one of those irritations be what your mind is thinking about. But he says that you need to do 3 to 5 of them today. He recommends 4 or 5, but he said if that's too much, do at least 3. Okay, well, let's read the lesson. And I'm Forgiveness Willie, teaching forgiveness from the Ozarks, the foundation for peace, the foundation for miracles, which we're going to learn that in our text, a little bit more about that today, about how if you want peace, you're going to have to practice forgiveness. So you might as well learn what true forgiveness means, because that's what's going to bring about true peace, or the only peace there really is. Okay, let's see. It's been a rainy day today here on, well, this is for lesson 8, which will be, for me it's on Sunday, but for you it'll be Wednesday, if you do it according to the calendar day, January the 8th of 2025. And we're reading from the Foundation for Inner Peace version of A Course in Miracles this year. We've done the original edition a couple times, or I think 3 years we did the original edition. Last year we did the Foundation for Inner Peace, and this year we're using it in A Course in Miracles. So the lesson 8 is, my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. This idea is, of course, the reason why you see only the past. No one really sees anything. He sees only his thoughts projected outward. The mind's preoccupation with the past is the cause of the misconception about time from which your seeing suffers. Your mind cannot grasp the present, which is the only time there is. It therefore cannot understand time and cannot, in fact, understand anything. Remember our first lesson? I don't know what anything means. Having that open mind so you have a clean slate so you can actually be shown what is true. You have to come in beginning to say, I don't know what anything means. I guess I'll learn it as God shows me. The one holy true thought one can hold about the past is that it is not here. The one wholly true thought one can hold of the past is that it is not here. It's not here now. It's in the past. To think about it at all is therefore to think about illusions. Very few have realized what is actually entailed in picturing the past or anticipating the future. The mind is actually blank when it does this because it is not really thinking about anything. Paragraph 3. The purpose of the exercises for today is to begin to train your mind to recognize when it is not really thinking at all. While thoughtless ideas preoccupy your mind, the truth is blocked. Recognizing that your mind has been merely blank rather than believing that it is filled with real ideas is the first step in opening the way to vision. Okay, what we want is vision. Matter of fact, at one point Jesus tells us in the Course that vision is our greatest need now. Paragraph 4, the exercises for today should be done with eyes closed. This is because you actually cannot see anything, and it is easier to recognize that no matter how vividly you may picture a thought, you are not seeing anything. With as little investment as possible, search your mind for the usual minute or so, merely noting the thoughts you find there. Name each one by the central figure or theme it contains and pass on to the next. Introduce the practice period by saying, I seem to be thinking about blank. Okay, so we're gonna see what we're thinking about, and remind yourself as you're looking at your inner thoughts he says, with as little investment as possible. In other words, don't dig in and try to use a lot of your mind and really think that you're working out really hard. Try to do it kind of like laid back, kind of like be a silent witness, just kind of observing your thoughts like they were an odd procession of, like in a parade. He uses that example. We'll come to later on. That, like you're standing on the side of the road watching a parade go by, and whatever the thoughts are is like the parade going by. Just kind of with a little investment as possible. Don't try to dig them out. Just trying to kind of watch them go by. And tell yourself, I seem to be thinking about, and then, name the people you're thinking about, the emotions you're thinking about, the dreads, the happinesses, the goals, whatever they are. And if you get yourself caught up in the thought itself, well, then step back and just observe them. Don't actually be thinking about them so much. That's what I mean by not having much an investment in it. Then name each of your thoughts specifically. For example, I seem to be thinking about a name of a person, or about a name of an object, or about name of an emotion. So, I seem to be thinking about how I feel, or I seem to be thinking about a person, or I like to just keep saying I seem to be thinking about. It helps me to stay focused. And so on, concluding at the end of the mind-searching period with this idea. But my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Okay, so at the end of the mind-searching period, you just tell yourself, but my mind's preoccupied with past thoughts. This can be done 4 or 5 times during the day, unless you find it irritates you. If you find it trying, 3 or 4 times is sufficient. You might find it helpful, however, to include your irritation or any emotion that the idea for today may induce in the mind searching itself. Okay, so if you find yourself a little upset about having to do this 5 times or even doing it at all, you might include that irritation as one of the I seem to be thinking about. So, okay? And then conclude with the idea, but my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Okay? All right, so we'll do that again when we close. And you could theoretically have 2 of them right here. And I would usually encourage you with the practice periods. I wouldn't double up and do them real close together. You can. There's nothing. He doesn't really tell you how. But I think he'd rather have you spread them out throughout the day is what I'm trying to say. And I don't think it's really a problem if you do a little bit more. I don't think he wants you to actually count on how many did I do. Just kind of like, 4 or 5. If you did 6 or 7, he's not going to mind. might even be good for you. If you did 2 or 3, the idea is aim for about 4 or 5 is the point I'm trying to make. Spread out throughout the day. Even though there are times where I do a couple of them because it's getting late in the day and I'm getting ready to go to bed and I realize I haven't done enough. I go ahead and do a couple of them back to back. I've even done more than that back to back just because I want to get them done. But he does want to spread them out throughout the day. Okay, now let's go take a look in our text reading. And it was this first sentence. This is in chapter 1, The Meaning of Miracles, section 6, The Illusion of Needs. And this first sentence in section 6, you who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. Wow, so we want to learn what forgiveness is and be sure that we practice it. I'm going to get my stuff gathered up here a little closer because it's starting to come down, raining a little stronger again. It's been raining all night. I came out here when it wasn't raining, and now it's starting again. But I got an umbrella up above my head. Hopefully it'll keep us dry. You who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. And what's forgiveness? It's not you're a nice person and you're going to let someone off the hook because you're so nice and they did something that was truly bad. What you're going to do is you're going to realize that you're forgiven yourself, really, for condemning your brother for doing nothing. Because the only reality is love, which we're going to get into in this particular reading. You who want peace can find it only by complete forgiveness. No learning is acquired by anyone unless he wants to learn it and believes in some way that he needs it. While lack does not exist in the creation of God, it is very apparent in what you have made. It is, in fact, the essential difference between them. God's kingdom is there's no lack in what you've created. That's the essential difference in God's kingdom. You believe you live in a world of lack. Lack implies that you would be better off in a state somehow different from the one you are in. Until the separation, which is the meaning of the fall, nothing was lacking. And the words separation and fall are in quotes. There were no needs at all. Until the separation, which is the meaning of the fall, nothing was lacking. In other words, the belief that you're separate from God is what the fall is. There was no need at all before that. Needs arise only when you deprive yourself. You act according to You act according to the particular order of needs you establish. This, in turn, depends on your perception of what you are. Paragraph 2. A sense of separation from God is the only lack you really need correct. Catch that. The only lack you really need correct. A sense of separation from God is the only lack you really need correct. This sense of separation would never have arisen if you had not distorted your perception of truth and had thus perceived yourself as lacking. The idea of order of needs arose because, having made this fundamental error, you had already fragmented yourself into levels with different needs. As you integrate, you become one, and your needs become one accordingly. Unified needs lead to unified action because this produces a lack of conflict. Paragraph 3. The idea of orders of need, which follows from the original error that one can be separated from God, requires correction at its own level, being the error of perceiving levels at all can be corrected. Okay, let's read that again. The idea of orders of need, which follows from the original error that one can be separated from God, requires correction at its own level before the error of perceiving levels at all can be corrected. You cannot behave effectively while you function on different levels. You cannot behave effectively while you function on different levels. However, while you do function on different levels, correction must be introduced vertically from the bottom up. This is because you think you live in space where concepts such as up and down are meaningful. Ultimately, space is as meaningless as time. Both are merely beliefs. Isn't that something? Space and time are beliefs, and he tells us at one point that they'll pass away when we no longer need them as teachers. Okay, paragraph 4. The real purpose of this world is to use it to correct your unbelief. You can never control the effects of fear yourself because you made fear and you believe in what you made. In attitude, then, though not in content, you resemble your Creator, who has perfect faith in His creations because He created them. Belief produces the acceptance of existence. Belief produces the acceptance of existence. That is why you can believe what no one else thinks is true. It is true for you because you made it, because it was made by you. You know, you can accept things that aren't true, even though to you they're true. Why? He says, because you believe, because you made them, because you believe them. And the last paragraph, which we're going to sing this whole paragraph here in a moment when we close. All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level, and therefore do not exist at all. To whatever extent you are willing to submit your beliefs to this test, to that extent are your perceptions corrected. In sorting out the false from the true, the miracle proceeds along these lines. Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love. But only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. And of course, he's quoting out of 1 John chapter 4 and verse 18. And the verses right in front of that and beyond it are if you're going to go back and do a little deeper look into it, don't read just verse 18. It really comes up much deeper as you look at the verses preceding it and ending in it. And we don't have time today to look at it, but you can go look at it yourself, and I'd encourage you to. But he's quoting it. So the miracle proceeds along these lines. Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love. That's obvious. But only perfect love exists. Bob-a-nom, cable-om, all there is love. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. That's what we want to forgive. We want to give up. The irritations, the upsets are all fear thoughts. They're all ideas of separation. Okay? Okay, and then he closes with these last two sentences. Believe this and you will be free. To the extent to which you can, how does he say it? To whatever extent you're willing to submit your beliefs to this test, to that extent are your perceptions corrected. All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level and therefore do not exist at all. And then he gives us a little way to do that. To whatever extent you're willing to submit your beliefs to this test, to that extent are your perceptions corrected. In sorting out the false from the true, the miracle proceeds along these lines. Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love, but only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. Believe this and you will be free. Only God can establish this solution, and this faith is His gift. Okay, well, before we close with our song and our little 1-minute mind searching, let's see what's going on around the world. There's not really any major religious holidays today around the world that I could find. There probably is. I just couldn't find any. I did find yesterday that Bodhi Day, the day that Siddhartha Gautama, is it Siddhartha? I think that's right. Gautama Buddha became the Buddha, or he got enlightened under the Bodhi tree, the Ficus religiosa tree, the fig tree, was on the 7th and the 8th in some places. So I'm thinking it probably started sundown last night and it's going on today. I don't know that to be fact, though. But I did see that it's the Bodhi Day for some people today. Other than that, on holidays and observances, a couple of them that I thought nice to mention. War on Poverty Day, and you can fight the war on poverty by helping somebody in need. That's what Jesus told us we'd always be able to do that, he said. And then also, I thought this was kind of a neat deal, Earth Rotation Day. Back in 1851 in Paris, a guy named Leon Foucault, I think that's how to pronounce his name, hung a big pendulum in the Pantheon in Paris, and he proved that the Earth was rotating, and there's some incredible science and geometry that comes to play that I don't have time, and I don't even understand it thoroughly. But anyway, he proved it in 1851 that the Earth rotates with this pendulum, and they've set it up. It's a remake of it is set up in the Pantheon in Paris, which I'd encourage you to go see if you're in Paris. They're all around the world now, though. His pendulum, he hung this real heavy, brass ball from a cable real high, and he started it spinning, or started it pendulum, and it rotates. It pendulums back and forth, and it makes a whole turn as the Earth spins, and it'll take longer to turn depending on where it's at in the of whichever latitude. Okay, and then another plant that I wanted to tell you about out of edible landscaping is another persimmon. We've read all the Peterson pawpaws, and here's another, just they call these named pawpaws. They're Asamina trilobas, and this one is the mango pawpaw. And it says the mango pawpaw, obtained from a collector in Tifton, Georgia, are large, native, early ripening, and very delicious fruit, yellow flesh reminiscent of a mango with very smooth texture. The mango pawpaw. And our word for peace we're going to take out of the Danish people of Denmark, and it is Fred. So Fred be with you today. Peace be with you. Fred be with you. Isn't that cool? Yesterday we talked about Irene, which is Irene. Today we're talking about, so Fred and Irene. You ever heard that song, Jack and Diane? What about Fred and Irene? Peace, peace. Masculine, feminine. I don't know. I'm just kind of playing. Okay. We'll do we'll do the meditation at the end, but it's going to be, my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. I seem to be thinking about, and of course you'll name what you're thinking about. Then you'll conclude by saying, but my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. We'll come back to that, but with that same tune, let's do our last paragraph in our reading today. All aspects of fear are untrue because they do not exist at the creative level, and therefore do not exist at all. To whatever extent you are willing to submit your beliefs to this test, to that extent are your perceptions corrected. In sorting out the false from the true, the miracle proceeds along these lines. In sorting out the false from the true, the miracle proceeds along these lines. Perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love, but only perfect love exists. Only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist. Believe this and you will be free. Only God can establish this solution. And this is His faith. And this is His gift. And this gift, and this faith is His gift. And this faith is His gift. Let's do that again. And this faith is his gift. This faith is his gift. Believe this and you will be free. Only God can establish this solution. And this faith is his gift. This faith is his gift. Perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love casts out fear. If fear exists, then there is not perfect love. But only perfect love exists. Only perfect love exists. If there is fear, it produces a state that does not exist, and you'll just forgive it. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Now let's look at our thoughts. I seem to be thinking about, as I hum, you think. I seem to be thinking about. 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 But my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Okay, a couple things that came to me as we were closing is that we want to practice these principles, and that's why the workbook is so valuable, because it gives you, instead of just the theoretical in the mind, we got to do the experiential and prove to ourselves that forgiveness works and how to do it. And so be sure to do your lesson 5 times today, as he encourages you to do so, at least 3. For just a minute, though. I mean, it's not like you're asking very much, but he does want you to do it today and tomorrow. Every day you'll get a new lesson, of course. And for this year. And thank you guys for joining me in this lesson. And it seems like there was one other thing I wanted to say. And now I'm not even recalling what it was, and our time is about up. Let's have just a moment of just quiet and see if we can. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. He said don't dig them out. Just let them kind of come to you. Notice what they are, and then after your mind searching, tell yourself, but my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Fred.